Happy Tuesday morning. Happy Tuesday afternoon. I really appreciate each and every single one of you attending today's webinar. Really excited about today's topic. I really like for today to be interactive because this is not for me. This is meant for you. So any feedback that you can provide us would be greatly appreciated. So we'll go ahead and get started. And just really quickly, I won't spend too much time with this, but we are very proud members and huge advocates of the associations. Our industry is better off when our associations are flourishing. And as I've mentioned before, I'm hopeful over time this list will continue to grow, but these are some of the associations that we're proud members of. Look, we are in the security industry that happens to do marketing, but we are very proud and very blessed to be in this industry and have made, I've made so many lifelong friends, and I do see a few of you that are on here right now. So thank you very much. In terms of us, we do provide marketing services for security dealers, integrators, guard companies, as well as the vendors in the industry. And really, I'll sum it up like this. All the things that we talk about, these are in fact things that we do, but we're not talking about that right now. It is all about the current level of success, what we learn from others, because we don't work with direct competitors. So what we learn from others, and as groups get started off with us, it's all about that current level of success. But enough about us, because this is not about us. It's all about you. That I just remembered. For those of you that don't know me, and if we're not connected on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with you. I have been very blessed and fortunate to be able to speak at our industry's biggest events that are represented here since January of 2014. And you can see my business partner here upside down. Funny story. I'd love to share that over a cocktail with you at an upcoming event as to why. But SDM Magazine, which we're very good friends with them. We don't have any relations with them, but we are good friends with them. We've had the Marketing Mad Men column since January of 2014. My goodness, time flies when you're having fun. So with that said, before we get into the agenda and things in that regard, you'll notice here that we want to, in light of making things interactive, part of what we want to achieve, and I'll participate as well, and I'm sure those of you that have been on this before, you will already know what needs to be done. But for those of us that are on this live, if I can ask each and every single one of you to answer this question, answer it honestly. And as you are, and let me actually do this because I can't chew and talk at the same time. So as you're answering this, and as you're seeing others that are addressing this, the thought process around this is, how did you answer this? And take a look as to how you compare versus that of your peers and potentially some of your direct competitors. There's, I believe, just 3 questions today, because I want to make sure we've got a lot of great information to cover in terms of marketing in terms of like local search and that of the Google Business Profile. But this first question is, have you claimed and verified your Google Business Profile for your security company? And the answers are yes, not sure, or no, I've not claimed it yet. So we'll give this another, five seconds or so. And I appreciate everyone answering this. But it's once again, and I'm glad that most of us have, and we've not just claimed it, but we've also verified it. And if we're not sure if it's claimed, this is definitely one of the key action takeaways. Please make sure that this is one of your notes. This is really important. We're going to talk about why. So let's go to the next question really quick. Next question is, how frequently do you update or optimize that of your Google Business Profile? Because of course, this is the topic of discussion here. So if we can go ahead and all answer that, that would be great. And we'll give this just a few more moments. Yeah, I see here. It's interesting as we're seeing here. And by the way, I know everyone knows this, but just in case, this is anonymous. So I don't know, nor does anyone else know who you are and what you're selecting, if that makes sense. So this is where this is really helpful, because once again, not just for you, but for everyone that's watching this live as well as on demand, we'll be able to see as to how they compare with that of their peers. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next, which is, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to managing that of your Google Business Profile? Is it a lack of time? Unsure? Is it difficult with managing the reviews and feedback? Is it keeping up with Google's updates and guidelines? Or is it's just not seeing the value in maintaining it? Now, by the way, I hope that no one selects not seeing the value in maintaining it. All right, let's see here. We'll give this just another moment. This is actually really, really interesting here. Before I looked up, I would have thought that would have been a little different. Well, I'll tell you what, the good news is in terms of unsure how to optimize it effectively, you are in the right place because that's the lion's share of exactly what we're talking about. So we're going to go ahead and move on to just a couple of other quick things, and then we'll get into the agenda. First of all, when we take into consideration like the lifeblood of our industry in terms of our roots, when we take into consideration like whether it's for security or like on the alarm side or whether it's on the fire side, our industry, and one of the things I won't say recession proof, but like more of a recession resilient in terms of things that have happened over the years, it's because of the RMR. And when we associate RMR with that of our industry, it's all about professional monitoring. Now, look, there are a number of groups that are in a position to have their own in-house monitoring, but for the lion's share of security companies, it is a requirement to do business. I shouldn't say it's a requirement, but in order to do business, you've got to partner with that of a wholesale monitoring center. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of great wholesale monitoring centers out there. If this is something that you're interested in learning more about, because maybe you're not feeling love with your current group, there's been some changes with your wholesale monitoring provider, whatever the case may be, I'd love for you to consider my good friends at Emergency 24. They've got 4 fully redundant monitoring centers, all the technology, all the backups, things in this regard. But to me, and from what I know, because I'm really good friends with many of the key members there, is it's all about the people. And I don't mean just literally at the top, but I'm talking about middle level management. I'm talking about individuals that are actually the monitoring center agents. Many of them have been there for 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years. And when you take these things into consideration, and a lot of their management has actually moved up, and they have been across multiple job, functions and things in that regard. So they really understand the business. So, I would highly recommend, if you're interested in learning more about potentially a new wholesale monitoring provider for your security company, please reach out to my good friends at Emergency 24. The QR code will take you to a page on their site that discusses some of their value prop a little bit more in detail. And as you reach out to them, if you wouldn't mind letting them know that I sent you, I'd greatly appreciate that. One final thing that I'll just, so in terms of today's topics, so what we're going to be discussing is that of the importance of local search for that of security companies. It is, when we take into consideration, we're going to get into detail about this, but like your customers are in fact today searching for that of you. They may not necessarily know you by name, but they're searching for you, and it's important to be visible where they're searching, if that if that makes sense. So in addition to this, take into consideration what we're going to talk about also is understanding the challenges. We're going to talk about improving that of your Google business profile for better search results, because that's once again one of the in the second question that we asked, that's one of the things that's really, really important in terms of these next couple of points, because we're going to actually do like a step-by-step optimization of that of your Google business profile. And this is where I'd like for you to take your notes, and keep in mind this session is being recorded, so we will make sure that each and every single one of you do get a copy of this recording. But I'd like for you to take your notes so that you can fast forward, and some of these areas you may want to watch over more than once. And by the way, in a side note, if anyone has any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat, or you can use the Q&A function. Keep in mind, and I'll do the best that I can, if you're okay with everyone knowing who you are in terms of the question you ask, you can send that to everyone. But if you want to be anonymous, I'll do my best to make sure that I don't reference your name, and you'll want to send the chat to host and panelist. So in addition to this, we're going to talk for a couple of minutes about reviews. We'll talk about that of the KPIs in terms of tracking performance and making sure that we're staying compliant. And then we'll wrap up with that of an action plan and that of the next steps. So before we get to the actual content itself, one quick thing, and I'm going to ask in the chat really quickly here, anyone going to be joining me at ISC East? I am really, really excited and looking forward to seeing many of my friends. And if you are, I'd love to hear from you in the chat. If you want to just type, either me, we will, or I am as an example in the chat, that would be great. And I really look forward to seeing everyone, as I mentioned. So thank you, Sam. I presume, Samuel, you're saying, yes, you're going to be there. So perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. Yes, there we go. I like that. At least two of us. I love that. And Emil, thank you as well. And I'm sorry, Emily, excuse me. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So really quickly, and then we're going to get into the content. I would love for each of you to stop by our booth. And by the way, rumor has it, one, if not both of my better halves, when I say my better half, my wife will actually be coming to ISC East, and also my business partner, Alex, may be coming as well. But we'd love to come, please stop by our booth at 246. And I'll just be really quick about this. I'm honored to be leading two panels on two incredibly important initiatives in terms of from like public safety and how the private security industry are working together. And I'm really excited to be sharing the stage with that of my good friends. And these are all members of the board at PPVAR and doing great work. And then the other session that we're going to be discussing, and I'll be fortunate and very blessed to be leading a panel, is talking about video monitoring and more specifically remote guarding as an opportunity. And for those of you that offer video surveillance as a service, and you're going to be at IAC East, you're going to want to be part of this session. So I'm very honored to be sharing the stage with all of my distinguished colleagues. Look forward to seeing each and every single one of you there. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say who your name is because you said to host in panels, but I am hoping that you decide to go to ISC East. And if you do, I'd love to be able to shake hands and perhaps we can, have a coffee or a beer. And your coffee or beer will be on me. Okay, so in terms of getting into the content, like why is it that local search matters? And I'm just going to walk through a couple of facts and figures. Like it is a fact that nearly half of Google searches today, and by the way, it didn't start off that way, but in terms of where it is that we are today, according to Google Consumer Insights, half of Google search, the actual searches themselves, they're seeking local information, meaning it's not just, hey, I want to buy some shoes or, I want to research, a recipe for X, Y, or Z. Nearly half of them are searching for local information. And by the way, in terms of most, if not all of us, we're local security companies that have a finite service area. And this is why it's important. And the other good thing is nearly 100%, in fact, 97%, according to the SEO Tribunal, of individuals learn more about a local company online more so than anywhere else. And I want you to think about these two stats. And I know this is why each of you happen to be present here. And for those of you that are watching this on on demand in the future, I appreciate that. But these two stats are really, really important. If you are not present, you're going to be putting yourself, you're leaving money on the table and you're allowing for your competitors to take share from you, whereas you had that opportunity. In terms of that, of the why local search matters from the end user behavior, keep in mind, as I mentioned, like your prospects right now are searching for what we do. And the whole point here is not a matter of them just searching for what we do, but think about this. They not only are searching for what we do, number one, number two, they're searching with the intent as to where you're physically based in terms of your service area. And guess what? They need your help, not necessarily a year from now, not yesterday, they need your help right now, because they're doing that search in the very near future. So keep all these things in mind. That's why it is that local search matters. In terms of that, of the impact on that of our security business, what it will do to help with is to enhance our visibility. And yes, it is all about generating more and more leads, but it's not just about generating leads. It's about getting that targeted traffic, building our brands. Because remember, for those of you that I've had one-on-one conversations with, and in previous discussions, previous webinars, I talk about how it is all about know, like, and trust. And it's not necessarily just knowing, for example, our logo here, SD marketing. Okay, I see SD marketing here, there, and everywhere. But it's about understanding what are our principles? What do we do? How do we help? Is this someone that we can see potentially helping to solve our problems. And I know I just referenced myself, but I want you to insert yourself in what I just shared. And that's why it's important to make sure, because it's not just them knowing about who you are, but it's also about all the things that I just referenced. In terms of a competitive advantage, remember, within the Google Maps section, which is what we're talking about today, there used to be 7 results, and now there's only 3. And now think about this. In your market, how many direct competitors do you have? You know, there are a few members that are watching this live that happen to be that of on like the vendor side, if that makes sense, like on the manufacturer or service provider side. So you've got many, you know, your service area perhaps is the entire country. But for those of us that are local security companies, how many competitors do you have? I would venture to say it's going to be more than 2, which where I'm going with this is all of you are vying for that invaluable. And by the way, it's not just like a singular category, a singular keyword phrase. There are many, like every single search is in fact its own category. So being able to stand out from that of our competitors not only allows us to increase traffic, increase leads, but it increases the perception of who we are, because some users believe that because Google has you here, Google thinks you're better than others. So these things are really, really important, because really, you know, when it's all said and done, and I'm going to repeat myself, we want to establish ourselves as the provider for that of our potential customers into someone that you know, like, and trust. It is so incredibly important. In terms of some of the challenges that are faced by that of security companies, you know, keep in mind, you know, and this was actually shared, if my memory serves me correct, a few questions ago. In that poll, we talked about there's unfamiliarity in terms of some of the features, like how do things work? You know, there's also a belief that it may potentially, I don't think anyone here, but it's potential that there may be a belief that it's not relevant. And look, the reality is, and I know it may be hard to see me, but I'm pointing at my watch. And yes, I don't have an Apple Watch. I've got one of the old ones. But anyhow, neither here nor there. But like I keep asking this watch to slow down, and it doesn't listen to me. My point being here is we're all super busy. We don't have time. So these are some of the challenges. So, you know, in terms of additional challenges, we also have limited marketing resources. Perhaps maybe we have a small team, a small marketing team. Perhaps we don't have a marketing team. Navigating, understanding the platform, because I think that was once again one of the challenges that we shared. And also keeping up with the updates, because I'll tell you what, and look, there are my counterparts that manage like Google Ads and manage some of these specific things with Google Business Profile. I'll tell you what, like within the Google Ads platform, I know we're not talking about that, but my point will make sense here in just a moment. You know, there are times where I've been in Google Ads platform, and while I've been in there, there's a notification that says, you know, refresh your page because there's been an update. And my point being here is Google very frequently updates its algorithm or its platform within the map section, within its search engine optimization, within its ads, etc. So it's important to make sure that we're keeping up to date. That's one of the challenges, being able to keep current with what's the best, latest practices and things in that regard. And I'll tell you what, I touched base on this earlier, but I'll tell you what, this is where like we can't claim ignorance or what have you. Like if you do not take action, and I don't necessarily mean each and every single one of you that are on this live, because we all have our respective teams, but if as an organization, if we do not take action, there are in fact consequences. And, you know, number one, if you have reduced visibility, that equals missed opportunities. And by the way, it's not just that. If you are not taking action upon these things, you are helping to fuel growth of your competitors. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in helping to fuel the growth of my competitors. You know, like these lower rankings and local search results and not being able to appear in that coveted, that local 3-pack, that is a big problem. Like that is our mission and our goal for that of the core key searches that we do, is to show up within that 3-pack. And by the way, within the ads and within the organic. But obviously I know we're talking about Google Business Profile today. The other thing is you're like losing customers. And as I've talked about, like your competitors are gaining an edge because we're helping to fuel their growth. And that's not okay. Additionally, if you're not taking action, you may have outdated information. What happens if maybe perhaps you've moved your office, you've expanded offices, perhaps you've expanded some of the services that you've done. There can be a negative perception on who it is that you are. I mean, keep in mind, like those things are really, really important. And then one of the biggest things are when others are sharing their experiences with us, whether they're great experiences or their constructive feedback, we've got to make sure that we are responding to those. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're staying on top of these things. So let's talk about, like, I know I've referenced like the maps. We've talked about Google Business Profile. Let's talk about what it is. So, according to Google, the Google Business Profile is a free, easy to use, and I'll underscore free. There is no cost to use it. Easy to use tool for businesses to manage their online presence across Google, including search and maps. I want to emphasize the fact that there is no cost. For those of us, and I don't recall, I think some of us stated that you were not sure as to whether it was claimed and not sure as to how to optimize things. Look, Google has made its tool as easy as possible because it wants for us to use its tool and to fill in all of the sections. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. And let me share with you why. I mean, let's think about this. What's in it for Google? Like, obviously, Google is a for-profit business, just like all of us are here that are live. But Google, from their perspective, they want to make sure that they have useful information that will position them well so that as a searcher, as a user of Google, we will continue to come back and things in that regard. So that's what's in it for them. That's why they want for us to be utilizing. They try and make things as for free and to use it as easy as possible. In terms of some of the key features, business, like your business info. So you're able to display all of your key business features, if that makes sense, including, like, when I say your name, I don't mean your personal name, but I mean your business name. And when we get into like the NAP, your name, address, phone number, I got to tell you, it is so incredibly important to be consistent. That's one of the key factors. You've got to make sure on your Google Business Profile, on any of your other local, on that of your local listings, the name of your business on your website, et cetera, et cetera. We want to make sure that it's consistent. That is really important because that's one of the, the technical term is citations, is making sure that we're sending the signals to Google that you are in fact a legitimate business. Once again, I don't know everyone here. Most of you, as I mentioned, I know. There are a few that I don't know as I'm scrolling through, and I'm continuous scrolling through. But those of you that I know, you all represent legitimate businesses. And that's why we want to make sure that we're adhering to all these things. The other thing is we want to make sure that we have the website, we have operating hours, and there's a lot more key features from the business perspective. The other thing is like photos and videos. And I'll tell you what, I know it's hard to see me right now, but I'm holding up my phone. You don't have to hire a professional group to be able to deploy all these things. Like, use your phone. These phones are strong enough, and they output great pictures. And I emphasize not just photos, but also videos. And like, look, we can showcase our products, we can showcase some of the solutions that we're providing, but also showcase some of the members of our team. Maybe it's selfies, maybe it's a few of the individuals. Because remember, it's like, when we take into consideration, I know that technically the Google Business Profile is not technically social media, so to speak, but what it does is it humanizes us. And by the way, I know we're not talking about the website today, but these things should also be referenced on your website as well. Because remember, these are all integrated. They all go together. We want to make sure, it's like not just your team, but completed projects. Perhaps it's like before and after. Maybe it's you're taking some selfies with that of your new customer, and they're smiling, they're excited. And by the way, we're going to get to reviews, but like that can be showcased as part of the review. We want to make sure that we have like posts and updates. So like, keep in mind, on the Google Business Profile, it's kind of like a little blogette, so to speak. So it's not a blog, it's Google's versions of the blog, and it's the page post. And we're going to talk about some of the key features a little bit more in detail. But this is where we can share news. We can talk about offers. Perhaps you've got some upcoming events. You may have some important announcements. Maybe you're offering a new service. Perhaps you're highlighting one of your core services. and demonstrating and talking about all the things that you do, because we want these to be educational. And yes, we want to make sure we have certain right keywords in the right places so that Google makes sure that these are all part of the key factors. So one of the other key features is reviews, which we'll talk about this a little bit more in detail. This is one that not necessarily, these two right here, messaging and Q&A, these are not commonly used, but I will say Google Business Profile allows you to have a chat feature so that your prospects and your customers, it gives them the ability to be able to communicate directly with you. So if you enable that, please make sure that you test it, you know how it works, so that you get notified, and you want to make sure that you're responding back to users right away, because these are part of the factors that Google is looking for. Google, remember, wants to be working and wants to reward that of real businesses that put service first and that are taking care of its customers, i.e. its searchers. And then in terms of the Q&A, this is a great way to feature how you're unique and different, and to add questions, and then of course the answers as to how your approach is. Because look, most of us here are going to be local independent security companies in one way, shape, or form. And we want to showcase how we're different from that of the nationals or that of the DIY companies, things in that regard. In terms of how the Google Business Profile influences that of local search rankings, it helps with relevance. Relevance, distance, and prominence are really, really important. Meaning we want to make sure, like Google wants to make sure that it's showing the most relevant search results, because there's only 3 that can show up there. They want to make sure, like, distance is really, really important. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, I happen to be in the city of Irwindale, which is in Los Angeles, which is in Los Angeles County. If I happen to be a security company and I want to be showing up in Los Angeles, well, ideally my office is located there, but if I'm like 100 miles away, it's not going to really make sense for Google to be showing us within the maps for someone that's 100 miles away. And then prominence, right? In terms of like your reputation, whether you have various citations that are citing us, we've got a lot of reviews, and these are independent individuals that are sharing their feedback about us. There's many, many others, but these are some of the key influences to make sure that we're showing up in the results. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment. In terms of some of the key factors that are helping to affect that of our performance, it is really important to make sure that we have the completeness of that of our profile. Meaning we want, like on the average, profiles that are fully filled out, that's one of the KPIs or one of the key factors to be able to show up, to be able to rank higher. Verification. I think that in one of the questions, there were a number of us that may have stated that we don't know as to whether we're verified or not. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but like, it's important to be verified. We want to make sure that we're really continuing to solicit reviews and having the highest possible ratings and responding to each and every single review. All that's important. We want to make sure we have that quality and the quantity of photos and videos, and we want to make sure we have regular activity. These are some of the key factors. Some of the benefits for that of us is we're going to have higher search rankings. We're going to increase that of our trust, because remember, it's that know, like, and trust. We also will have that of the competitive edge as well. In terms of tailoring our Google Business Profile for that of our security company, we want to make sure that we're highlighting that of the specialized services that we do. So we want to make sure that in one of the key factors when we're filling things out is it talks about what are all the services that we do. So we want to make sure that we have that completely filled out, so it's very clear. Because keep in mind, this Google Business Profile can be viewed as like more of that of like a, how do I say this, like like that of a like a mini website on Google, so to speak. So as we are communicating all the things that we do, this is really, really important. The next thing is we want to make sure that we're including some of the industry specific language. So it could be, when we say CCTV installation or alarm monitoring, we also want to include video surveillance. We want to talk about camera systems. We want to talk about security systems. For those of us that are doing guard and patrols, we want to be talking about, patrol companies, armed response. Yeah, I think all of these kinds of categories, things in that regard. We want to showcase that of our expertise. If we happen to have any certifications, perhaps we're multi-generational. If we happen to be, part of the local chambers of commerce, perhaps, we're part of your local state chapters, like your state's alarm association, perhaps ESA, SIA as an example. And we want to make sure that we're indicating what our service area is. In other words, what are the areas that we service? because that will be a ranking factor for Google, and also those of us, those prospects that are coming to us, they'll know that you service their particular area and you can help them. In terms of some tips for enhancing the profile, we want to make sure, and I know we touched base on this really quickly, but like we want to make sure that we ideally have pictures of the team, because remember, we're a service-based businesses, and this is something that helps our team and things, and it'll demonstrate that we're a human-based business and things in that regard. We want to make sure that we have that compelling business description. We're utilizing certain key attributes, like for example, that 24/7, 365 monitoring. We want to talk about free consultations, or for those of us, like for example, one of the emerging categories is like remote guarding as a category, and one of the subcategories of that category is like mobile surveillance trailers. And like for things like that, we want to talk about like next day service or same day service, emergency, things in this regard right away. We want to make sure that we're indicating these things, because those are some of the key factors. They may be calling, it's like, oh, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. And if we're indicating that, that's going to ideally give them the opportunity to want to give us a call. And the other thing is, it's like, whether we're talking about, diets, whether we're talking about exercise, or whether we're talking about our Google business profile, frequency, consistency, not just doing it hard for a certain period of time and then stopping. It is being consistent. So we want to make sure that we are posting consistently and managing and updating things consistently. In terms of the categories, we want to make sure that we're choosing that of the primary category. Here's a couple of examples of, so what I will say, keep in mind, one of the things that we want to, keep in mind, one of the things that we want to share is that of making sure that you've got the exact primary category. And there are a number of categories. What I would ask each of you to do is, when you go into your Google business profile, see as to what your current category is. And see as to whether you think that you should be making changes. And over more recently, there have been a lot of new additional categories that have come through. So all the things that you do, you want to make sure that you are indicating those as additional categories, because perhaps maybe you do not just security, but you do fire as well. Perhaps maybe you work with residential as well as commercial, and home automation are one of the things that you do, and things in that regard. So in terms of like relevant keywords, so in our description, we want to make sure that in our description about who we are not keyword stuffing. In other words, we're not just listing all of these keywords, but we are referencing that of all of the things that we do in a natural flow, if that makes sense. So like, as an example, we specialize in residential and commercial security solutions, including alarm systems, video surveillance, access control, fire and life safety, kitchen hood systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We want to make sure that things flow so it's crystal clear as to what it is that we do. Because remember, these are individuals that are going to be searching for you. They have a need that corresponds with what you do. We want to make it really easy for them to identify that you can help them, and make it easy for them to contact us. We want to make sure that we're listing that of all of the services with detailed explanations. So this is where, like, within the actual categories of the services that you provide, not only do you list the service, but you can provide a description as to what each of those services are and what they do. And as I'd shared before, we don't want to like overstuff or just like have the same service, but just have multiple versions of what that is, because that's unnatural. And that's, Google is not going to stand for that. And also it's going to seem really awkward to that of your potential customers that are coming to you as well. In terms of like some strategies for that of effective keyword usage, we want to make sure that, like, it's important to understand that of your customer search behavior. And meaning, this is like, what are the words and phrases that they do? And like, for example, there are in fact tools that help with this. But what you can do is, when you go to Google, and let's just say, for example, let's just say, you start typing security system home, or home security companies. What's going to happen is Google's, as you all know, Google will start sharing additional examples of other phrases, and Google's going to make its best estimation as to what it believes you're looking for, to make it easy so you don't have to keep typing. You can click on what you're looking for. Well, as you're evaluating that, these are in fact what others are searching for. So that's not randomly done. And keep in mind, these are some of the things that you want to make sure that you are taking into consideration when you're looking at like your keyword research and things in that regard. The other thing is using geo modifiers. And what we mean by that is, as an example, let's say like, security company in Los Angeles, California. But the other thing to take into consideration is the near me phrases as well. So like Google knows where we are based on that of our IP address. So like you can also say like security companies near me, and Google will display things that are going to be that of here near Irwindale, or security companies that are near Irwindale. But we do want to make sure that we're indicating that of the major cities that you service within your service area. And the other thing is to take a look at that of the key performance indicators in your reporting within your Google Business Profile. Take a look at the insights to see as to what are some of the keywords that are actually driving the traffic. And then when we talk about adjusting accordingly, we want to make sure that if there are certain keywords that you're not showing up for, we want to make sure that you're adding that to your posts. You're updating that of all of the description of your business, as well as that of the services that you're providing, or the categories and things in that regard. So let's talk about that of claiming your Google Business Profile. So if you go, and if you want to jot this down, I will put this in the chat. So if you go to google.com/business, or if you do a search for your business, if you're already claimed it, you'll be able to see it. You'll see that your results are going to look a little different because it's going to say you claimed this business. But you want to do a search for your business, and if you don't have the profile, you'll want to create it. Once again, you'll log into google.com/business. Make sure you have an actual Google account. You'll want to keep in mind in terms of your business. Remember, do not say Los Angeles Security Systems Company as an example. Like that may work temporarily, but you don't want to get on Google's naughty list, and you don't want to be banned. So whatever your business name, that is what needs to be used. You want to make sure that you're selecting the most accurate business category, and then of course the appropriate subcategories as well. And then in terms of verifying your business, and this isn't as, it's becoming a lot more rare, but dependent upon how Google, according to its algorithm, according to its, according to how it verifies things, it may potentially send you a postcard by mail, although that's becoming a lot more rare. There may be phone or email or SMS verification, but what's becoming more and more of a challenge, and we're having to help with some of our customers on this, is to do a video verification. What I will say, for those of you that have challenges with that, if you have any challenges with that, feel free to reach out to us, reach out to me. I'd be happy for us to share. We've got our best practices on that, because it is not fun, but we've got the step-by-step in terms of being able to verify if any of you have any of those issues. In terms of some of the essential business details, as we've talked about, like we've got to make sure across all of your online platforms, you've got that consistent NAP. We want to make sure that we also are setting the business hours. And keep in mind, you'll notice for those of you that are in fact managing your Google Business Profile, when a major holiday comes about, Google will send us notes and asking, hey, are you open? Are you closed? So addressing those, or making sure that you're addressing those things, are really, really important. And in your actual Google Business Profile, we want to make sure that you have the appropriate URL for your website, so that from your Google Business Profile, you'll notice that there's the button that says like website or visit website. And you want to make sure that that is filled out so that users can go to your website. And by the way, if you've got multiple locations, you want to make sure that you're going to various location pages on your site, and not necessarily just going to that same page. Keep those things in mind. In terms of that, to get a little deeper into the business description, and keep in mind, and this is where you may, if you want to either take a screen grab of this or just jot this in your notes, you want to make sure that like the character limit is up to 750 characters, but keep in mind the first 250, that's what's most important. Also from the content perspective, you want to summarize that of your services and your experience, and what makes, like, what's your philosophy, like what is your approach to that of the security services that you provide. In your mind, like from what you know and from what your customers tell you, like what sets you apart. We also want to make sure that the keywords to the services that you provide, we want to make sure that you're like naturally integrating those. And here's an example. At home, At Secure Home Solutions, we provide state-of-the-art residential and commercial security systems, and then, of course, insert your name and surrounding, or your city and surrounding areas. With over 20 years experience, our services include alarm installations, video surveillance, and access control. Our certified technicians are dedicated to ensuring your safety and peace of mind. So, we can obviously expand upon that, but you want to make sure that you're having it flow naturally in things in that regard, and not just stuffing keywords and saying, we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 21, 25, 28. We don't want to do that. We want to have it flow naturally, if that makes sense. As we talked about with that of the high quality photos, to get a little more in depth about this, keep in mind that profiles that actually have photos, they receive a lot more clicks and a lot more engagements. And by the way, this, engagement with your Google business profile, this is one of the key factors. So take that into consideration. And by the way, don't just set it and forget it. Continually add if that makes sense. Keep in mind, once again, these are things that build trust, because the authentic, and what I mean by authentic, like real, I don't mean stock, but real images, are showcasing that we are a team of real people. And remember, ideally, we're sharing pictures not just of us and our facilities, our vans, our signs, etc., but we're showing our customers. We're showing before and afters, case studies, things in this regard. Some of the types of photos that we can include are like the interior, the exterior team, some of the actual products that we deploy. This would be a great time, like as you have any new services or any new additions, you can highlight these things as well. And look, before and afters or projects and any case studies, or showcasing that of members of your team. In terms of the guidelines, you want to make sure that you're using high resolution images, ideally a minimum of a 720 by 720 pixels. You want to make sure that the images, like they're aligning with that of your brand identity. It's really, really important. And as I've mentioned before, it's like the marathon, not a sprint. We don't want to just upload them once. We want to make sure that we're periodically or on an ongoing basis adding pictures so that we can so that our profile looks fresh. But it doesn't just finish with photos. We want to add videos as well. And with the videos, we can add them up to 30 seconds that have a maximum of 100 megabytes. And ideally, it's going to be 720p or resolution or higher. And a couple of ideas around videos that you can create. And by the way, these are just 3. There's many, many, many other ideas. But we can demonstrate how our security system works and how it's unique and different. Perhaps we're talking about like how to manage your security system or your smart home system on that of your phone, how you can look into your cameras, things in that regard. Perhaps this is where, once again, as you're speaking with that of your customers, you can once again do the selfie video and ask your customers some questions and have them share their thoughts, their ideas about what their experience has been working with you and how the installation process, how the sales process went, things in this regard. And we want to talk about behind the scenes footage. And I'll tell you what, this is one that's often overlooked in terms of, I'll give you an example. Perhaps part of how you approach this is because you want to have minimal disruption, whether you're dealing with homes or businesses, you want to have minimal disruption so you're in and out as quickly as possible. So perhaps rather than doing a lot of the testing, and by the way, for those of you that are much more technically inclined than I am, which is like all of you, if I butcher this, my apologies, but keep in mind, like for example, if you are, let's say, pre-programming systems, making sure that you're properly labeling things. It's like, this is what's unique about you. And maybe perhaps as you walk into a home or a business, you're wearing booties, as an example, meaning, the foot coverings. So you're not bringing in any dirt or what have you. Just as an example, like any of these kinds of things that you do, or what makes you unique, or the fact that you're constantly testing things. These are all things that are going to bring personality out in terms of your security company and make you stand out, because these are things that perhaps some of these DIY national players, they can't compete with, things in that regard. So in terms of like engaging with your customers through posts, and this is once again like the little mini blog ads, so to speak. This is where, we want to talk about like what's new, what are some general updates or some announcements. We want to talk about, any upcoming events. Perhaps you've got like a lunch and learn, or perhaps a webinar or an in-person or a community-based event, or maybe perhaps you're going to be going to some of these events. We want to be talking about offers. But by the way, we don't only want to be doing offers, but perhaps like, look, we're it is that time of, we're in Q4. It's like the holidays are coming. And keep in mind, there is still time, but like you're going to start seeing ads as we get through the election here in these next few days. You're going to start seeing a lot of ads for what? For Black Friday. So like, what is your strategy for Black Friday? Because just because we're not, excuse me, selling a one-off product, that doesn't mean that we can't take advantage of Black Friday. You still have time. Think about it. Think about some of the options and things that you can do, for a certain period of time. Because keep in mind, a lot of your customers, they have dollars that need to be spent and they're looking for deals. So what can you be doing that's creative and things in that regard? And then of course, like product updates, but I'm going to add something to this is like educational things, like talking about, once again, the services that you provide and demonstrating that you have a deep knowledge. Perhaps it's the industries, the vertical markets, like the types of businesses that you work with. And it's demonstrating that you really, truly understand what their challenges are. And you have solutions. And you're also talking about what the results of those solutions have been. In terms of engaging with them, keep in mind, these posts themselves can be up to 1,500 characters. So it's not like a blog that's on your website that can be as long as you'd like for it to be. Ideally, we're up to 300 characters, but the actual post itself can be up to 1,500 characters. In terms of frequency, you want to make sure you're posting regularly. Ideally at least once per week to stay active. In terms of some of the benefits, it gives you more visibility. This signals to Google that your business is active. This is a good thing. For those of you who can't see me, I'm shaking my head up and down here. It also will encourage customer engagement because it provides timely information to that of your existing and potential customers. And really, look, when it's all said and done, it helps to give that of a competitive advantage because keep in mind, if you look at most others, look at your competitors. Are they taking advantage of this? This is an opportunity for you to seize the opportunity. In terms of let's talk for a minute or two about customer reviews. So, nearly 9 out of 10 customers trust online reviews as much as they do personal recommendations. And look, you and I may be potentially that 1 out of 10, but do not view your marketing just based on what your personal process is, your personal thoughts and things in that regard. It is a fact that most consumers trust online reviews. They're important. Make sure you're adopting this. Look, positive reviews, they can increase trust and credibility with that of potential customers. There's a reason why Amazon at the top of a product, reviews is front and center. It makes it really easy for you to be able to see that. There's also benefits to that of local SEO. Reviews are one of the big key factors. I don't have the actual percentage here, but it's one of the big key factors in terms of being able to be ranked within that of the local, within page 1 of Google and within that map section. And it also, look, when you have a higher quantity and quality of reviews, it also is part of that overall ranking factor. Look, once again, why does it matter? It builds trust, showcases our experience, and it also has customer insights. We can learn from our customers. It showcases our experience because ideally your customers are sharing why they are rating you at where they're rating. And in terms of the building trust, we've already talked about that. So in terms of responding to reviews, right? We're going to talk first about positive and we'll talk about the negative or the constructive. Every single review, regardless of who they are, please, please, please respond to them. And remember, when you respond to them, thank them, be genuine. Yes, you could create templates to help you. And here's an example, thank you for your kind words. And you can insert the customer name. We're glad that you're satisfied with your new security system. Keep in mind it's personalized because we're personalizing it to them and we're inserting that phrase security system. This is, once again, these are all factors. Remember, it's all of these pieces of the puzzle together are what are force multipliers, things in that regard. In terms of like a personalized your response, we're thrilled that our team, here's an example. We're thrilled that our team could enhance your home securities with our latest video surveillance technology. Look, you can be a lot more explanatory than this. I'm not insinuating you've got to be doing paragraphs and paragraphs with responses, but do respond to not just the positive, but also the negative. And by the way, in terms of the constructive or the negative ones, make sure you're looking to see as to whether in fact this is a real customer. Make sure that you're professional, make sure that you're courteous. You want to acknowledge the issue. Look, no, and by the way, I feel the same way if somebody were to leave a review like that for us. But anyhow, you want to acknowledge the issue and you want to offer a solution. Because in many cases, you can turn an unhappy customer into a happy customer and get them to change their 1-star, their 2-star, their 3-star review to an actual 5-star review. Start it online, but take it offline. Have a conversation. Find out what's going on. And look, these are things that I already know that you all know, but don't just stick your head in the sand and not respond to this individual. In terms of generally speaking, like timeliness is really, really important. Make sure that you're responding within the first 1 to 2 days. Make sure that you are you know that you're receiving notifications. So whenever a new review comes in, you get notified or you have members of your team so that you're able to respond as quickly as possible. And make sure that your responses, they're in compliance with that of Google's review policy. In terms of some of the benefits, it's going to help with that of engagement, and it's going to help with increasing that of our reputation. So some of the strategies really quickly as we're wrapping things up is we want to make sure that we're encouraging customers to leave reviews, not part of the time, but every single time. Every single time that you've got a new customer, make sure that you are soliciting a review and make it easy for them. Create, there is a webinar that we did a number of months back where we got really deep into this. I'd encourage you, if you've not watched that, go to our website and find that in the webinar section. But I'll tell you what, really quickly, make sure that you're utilizing QR codes. You can create a little business card that is a QR code. It's like leave us a review and things in this regard, and make it easy. You can have your technicians that have the link to your Google business profile for them to leave a review so that they can text it. Because once you leave, life gets in the way, and they're not going to be able to respond to that. In terms of some of the marketing things that can be done, yes, there are ways to utilize email. There are ways to utilize SMS to be able to solicit reviews. But I'll tell you what, doing it the old-fashioned way, one at a time. And by the way, you set up the review during the marketing and during that of the sales process. You don't set up the review during the installation. You're reminding your customers, we're going to do great work. The sales process is going to be very, very different. We're going to take that consultative approach. We're going to do a great job. This is what's unique about us, da, 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 da. And by the way, many of our customers come through us because of reviews, and they review through our reviews. And by the way, when we conclude, because we're going to do all these things that we're talking about, we're going to ask you for one. So you're setting it up during that sales process. Really, really important. In terms of data and insights, you've got to make sure that you're understanding that of the key insights. So Google Business Profile gives us that of the data and the insights. And in your dashboard, you can navigate to that of the performance and insights tabs, and it'll give us a lot of KPIs and a lot of data points. This is just an example of some of the things that you can know. You can know as to, what are the platforms and devices, what are the desktop versus that of the mobile, things in this regard. Some of the key metrics to monitor. And Zoe, if you're on, do you mind letting Alex know that I'm on a webinar and I'll get back with him ASAP, please? I appreciate that. So like in terms of some of the key metrics to monitor, keep in mind, like we've got search queries. So we've got, we want to make sure that we are identifying what are the actual keywords and phrases that our customers use to find our business. So like, for example, in that dashboard, one of the sections is it's going to showcase once again, what are the actual searches and phrases that are searched for. You're going to notice that, usually within the top 5 or 6 are going to be your brand, like people that are searching for your brand. The key here, by the way, is your branded searches are important. As you continue to build your brand, you're going to see more and more people searching for you, and that's a good thing. But it also let you know, like, for example, it could be, home security systems. It could be alarm companies and insert your city. Like those are important things. And by the way, it'll give you a huge list of these, like in terms of, dozens and dozens of these, like in fact, like, your top 100 and actually beyond. And where I'm going with this is, as you're searching through that, you can start to do these searches in your area and see as to, okay, if I'm already being shown for these, what do I need to do in my SEO as part of my Google Business Profile so that I can show up higher in the results for these certain key queries and things in that regard. As I'd mentioned, the ways that customers can find your listing is by doing a search for your business name or by doing a search based on the service or the category that you provide. In terms of some of the customer actions, it'll also give us indications as to how many website visits, like meaning how many, how many individuals came to your Google Business profile and clicked on the link that takes you to your visit. How many direction requests. For those of us that have, phone calls, things in this regard, we'll know as to how many phone calls. The other things is like from the photo perspective. And by the way, there are many, many other factors or many other things here as well, but we'll be able to know like how often things that we've been engaged with, things in this regard. So some of the, let's see, some of the key guidelines to follow is we want to make sure, as we talked about before, make sure we're using your exact name and do not alter it. Want to make sure that we have we're following the rules in terms of our address and the services that we provide. Want to make sure that we're selecting that of the right categories. From the content perspective, do not make sure that you're using, and obviously no one would do this, of course, but make sure that we're not utilizing any offensive language, spam, illegal content on that of our profile, our post, or that of the reviews. And we want to make sure that we're following, from the visual perspective, make sure that we're following that of the Google's quality and content requirements. And with reviews, do not solicit fake reviews. Like, it's not worth it. Like, you don't have to have hundreds of reviews to make a dent in this. Even if you have 0 reviews right now, start. Even if you're only generating 1 or 2 new customers a month, get started today. Every single customer should be a review, and I challenge you, and I want to keep in touch with you. Let me know how this process is going, and make sure in the responses, maintain professionalism. Remember, it's not like you're having a conversation that's not being recorded. You're being recorded in cyberspace. Be very professional with all your responses. In terms of a summary of the action steps, right? We talked about the content guidelines, adding that of high quality photos and videos, engage with our customers. We want to monitor that of the KPIs of our performance metrics, and we want to make sure that we're ensuring compliance with that of Google's guidelines. In terms of some tasks, and this you may want to take a quick snapshot in terms of your weekly, monthly, and quarterly tasks. On a weekly basis, make sure, and technically I would say the reviews daily, make sure that you're responding daily to review through all of your reviews. Make sure you're responding to all of them. You want to make sure on a weekly basis, ideally in a weekly or every other week, submit a new post and things in that regard. In terms of on a monthly basis, you want to make sure that you continually update photos and videos. You're taking a look at your insights. Are your metrics, are your numbers staying status quo? Are they going down? Are they going up? Obviously, we've got some seasonal things that come about, but ideally over time, as you continue to deploy these things, and you're adding more and more content, ideally the goal is, everything is starting to take steps in the right direction. The other thing is you want to verify that you've got all your business information there correctly. In terms of on a quarterly basis, you want to make sure you're in compliance. Make sure you've got, if there's any, updates to your service area. And then I talked about just a couple minutes ago, are there any big seasonal things that are coming about? Like, remember, be social, don't just be, corporate-esque, so to speak. We're all real businesses and things in that regard. So as we're wrapping things up, literally, I try to wrap through things ASAP here, but keep in mind, we talked today about your Google Business Profile. This next month, and by the way, this is coming up really, really quickly in about 2 weeks. We're going to have the part 2 to the series, this little mini series as part of our overall series. Whereas we talked about Google Business Profile, now we're going to talk about your website, because one of the questions that actually came in during the week was, what are we able to do to improve our website to drive more appropriate prospective leads to our firm? And this, I know, we're up against time, so I'm not going to be able to get it too much into depth with that right now. But like this next week, please make sure that you are, please make sure that you're signing up for this right away. And by the way, you may have noticed there's a member of our team, Isabella, that has been reached. So most of you should have received a call from Isabella, and I appreciate all of you being very kind and courteous to her. What she's really trying to do is make sure that as you've signed up for this, to make sure that you have it in your calendar, because I know for me, if it's not on my calendar, I'm lost. And also, if you have any questions that we can address during the session, we'll discuss that as well. So please sign up for this today. Really look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. I know for those, if some of you may have hard stops right now, but if anyone has any questions, I'd be willing to address them. What I will say is, let me quickly address this question that did come in. So what are we able to do to improve our website to drive more appropriate prospective leads to our firm? So we're going to do a deep dive into that this next in a couple of weeks during this session. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're focusing on low-hanging fruit. Is our website mobile responsive? Do we have clear call to actions? Is it crystal clear as to what it is that we do? Things in this regard. Like, these are all really, really important. Take a look at your numbers. We talked about the Google Business Profile insights, but from the website perspective, there are in fact insights that go to that of your that are like on your Google Analytics, as well as that of your Google Search Console. Those things are really, really important to show. Like Google Search Console as an example, it'll let us know where are we ranking, like what are all the keywords that we're ranking for, not just in the Google Business Profile, but in terms of our website. Where are we ranking? How much traffic are we receiving? What's our click-through rate? What's our average been day by day? Things in this regard. So those are a few of the things. As I mentioned, we're going to get really deep into that this next month. If we don't have any other questions, I want to once again be very respectful of everyone's time. I really appreciate, and I'll stop sharing here really quick. I feel like my daughter is going to be looking at me with a side eye right here, saying, "Dave, you didn't do that right." But like, I just want to say, I love each and every single one of you. I'm so appreciative of you spending time and taking time out of your day. Let's keep this conversation going. If you have any questions, please reach out. Let's keep this going on LinkedIn. I look forward to seeing, for those of you that will be at ISC East, I look forward to seeing you all there. Have a wonderful day, and let's make a difference. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate your time.